Welcome to Phakama Africa, your unconventional news source.
Here at Phakama Africa Media, we do things differently without conforming to what is done or believed.
Join us on this journey of uncovering the story behind the story.
This is Phakama Africa Media. As we fix the country one episode at a time, we're joined now by independent political analyst Botsang Muilwa. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to have you as always. Give us a little bit of a background behind the name or the person Botsang Muilwa, outside being an author and a political analyst.
Well, good afternoon, Cindy, and thanks for having me. Background, well, you've already mentioned that I'm an independent political analyst. I'm an author. I've got my biography out. I've got 2 more books coming out before the end of the year. But career-wise, I'm a political diplomat. I'm a career diplomat. I was trained in diplomacy. I served the country in various, countries. The highlight being I was the first South African ambassador to the Republic of Rwanda, and at a very young age, at 28. So that's where my politics came from. But I grew up in a Pan-Africanist family, and that's basically my political background.
Okay. And being a Pan-Africanist, which is largely what this platform is about, talking about the African ingenuity, African scientists, politicians, or indigenous knowledge systems, what in your view has the distortion of our culture and heritage done to the African psyche?
Well, you will remember that part of colonialism they had to use religion in order to destroy the African cultures. That was one of the things they had to penetrate the African people with. So in order to do away with our African being, our culture, and how we were brought up and how Africans used to live in the continent, they had to bring a foreign religion that actually overtook African cultures, customs, and practices. But we also allowed it to happen after, the apartheid era, after colonialism. We allowed and we continued with what the colonialists had implemented into our minds. Our people, and we teach our children to speak in foreign languages. Me and you, we are conversing in a foreign language at the moment. And we even give justification to why are we conversing in a foreign language and why do we do things the Western way, which was brought to us as if it's civilization, as if Africans were not civilized. But Cindy, you will recall that actually most of the things on earth, they started in Africa, or they were started by black people, in diaspora as well. So if Africans can go back to our roots, and I can talk about simple things, we look at our health, we look at what we eat. We have stopped eating herbs, we have stopped eating, organic food that we can grow, not only because we don't have the land to do that, but even where we have opportunities and capabilities to can grow our own crops and feed ourselves, we still depend on imports and even medicines. Africans used herbs and medicines to heal themselves, to live very well. We all know that when colonialists arrived in Africa, they were all a bunch of sick people suffering from scurvy and all sorts of diseases. And the Khoi people actually healed them using African herbs, muti and medicines, but we have stopped using all that, and we are
What would it take to reverse all of that?
It's consciousness. What we need to do is we have to conscientize our people. We have to clear our minds. We have to believe that we don't have to wake up and learn from the West or the East in order to do the things our own way. If our mindset is not prepared, if our people don't believe in themselves as African people, we are not going to be able to change anything. As long as we live in a situation whereby we think being a graduate from Connecticut or Oxford or wherever outside the world, and not from Fort Hare or Chefloop or wherever, then you are not educated and you are not good enough to can lead a society.
But you're still dependent, by virtue of the fact of not having that economic power, on a certain Eurocentric way of doing things.
If we could do what the liberation movements were formed for in Africa, and that's where we lost the plot. liberation movements, and particularly in South Africa, were formed for the return of the land to the African people. And that's where the economic sector comes in. We will not be able to do anything if we don't own the land. And I always say to people, when we talk about the land, we don't talk of land to build your townhouse, Cindy. We don't talk of the land to agriculture only. That's not what we are talking about. We are talking about an economic, productive land. And I'll give a few examples. You look at the economy in South Africa. Agriculture contributes only 6% of the GDP in South Africa. Only 6%. And people say they want land to farm. Why are we chasing land to farm when actually tourism, for example, contributes over 23% of the GDP in South Africa? And then why are we not chasing tourism land like what white people did? So when the apartheid government ended, if it really ended, and they handed over power to black faces that we put in the Union Building, what white people did is they took productive land, they took economic land, they took tourism land. Today, when you take your kids to the Kruger Park to see the Big Five, you may go there 10 times and come back without seeing the Big Five. Where is the Big Five? It's sitting in private game reserves, which are economic land that white people kept for themselves. So you are correct when you say we are still dependent, even to be educated and to run the country, on the very same oppressor system that oppressed us for so many years. The system did not change. The faces in government changed.
When did we come to this realization?
Well, some of us have been aware all along and nobody listened. And I think gradually South Africans are realizing that we actually were, chasing a goose. There was nothing that was presented in front of us. More and more people are talking about it. It will take a long time because what had happened earlier in the yesteryears was when the apartheid regime ended and handed over administration rights to black people who were mainly either in prison or in exile, they actually gave them an empty shell. And people are realizing because the life of an African person in South Africa hasn't changed much. In some instances, other things have become worse, actually. We still have, at this age, children in rural areas, falling into pit latrines and things like that, basic commodities. But I think we lost the plot the day as a nation we lost the focus to fight for the return of the land to the rightful owners. I think that's when everything went wrong. I personally believe that the infiltration of the ruling party by the apartheid government and foreign imperialists to bring up the Freedom Charter, that's where the problem began. That actually white people sitting somewhere in Europe, they even dictated the policy position of the ruling party in South Africa. So when colonialism ended, they brought in neo-colonialism, and they realized that if they don't brainwash and dictate to black people what to think, how to live their lives, then this revolution will not happen. That's why we actually never had a revolution in South Africa. I was talking to some friends last week and I said to them, thinking of it, we actually never had a war. When people say this is peacetime, I always ask, when was there a war? There's never been a war. We had people being oppressed, jailed, and thrown out of the country.
And is that the only way of fixing the country? Because, all of these issues are ventilated on social media, but there doesn't necessarily seem to be a strategy in how we deal with the issues of primarily inequality.
Well, I think we have to deal with the system. We have the most unequal society on earth. Yet, we've got this glorified constitution that people are supposed to say or are saying it is a good constitution that has brought peace in South Africa. But I've always asked a question, how come are we the most unequal society on earth if we've got a good constitution? So there must be a political will. There must be a willpower. The willpower must come from those we call leaders.
Will it though?
I don't
think willpower there?
I personally don't think there is a willpower. I think the current crop of politicians or leaders of this country, they don't have the willpower, number one. Number two, I don't think they actually care about where we are in the things we are discussing, me and you, because they are set, as we will say, Kokasi. They are set, they are in a comfortable positions. They also owe white people. That's another thing. White people made politicians in South Africa. They control them, they owe them with money, they control them with material, they control their lifestyle, and therefore they owe them. We hear the hype about expropriation of land Section 25 will be changed and so forth. What happened to the hype? It was just a hype. It will not happen. Anything in this country that will offend or rattle the white people from their comfort zone, politicians will never do it because they owe them.
And you're saying across the board? All
It's across the board.
Yeah.
For me, it's across the board. All politicians. If it wasn't across the board, Cindy, we would be having even a party with one seat in parliament or two raising these issues. But nobody's raising these issues. We talk about them on social media. They're always in the newspapers and so forth. Nobody stands up in the Republic of South Africa, in parliament, elected people, representatives of the society. None of them stands up and talk about issues.
So you're saying that the constituencies and the voters were sold a pipe dream?
They were sold a pipe dream. It's a pie in the sky that will never happen. And I do not know why are our people taking so long to realize that what they are being sold, it's not going to happen anytime soon with the bunch of politicians we are having now. I don't know. But there are mechanisms and tools that are being used by the imperialists as well as the white monopoly capital. The media, social media actually has opened up people's minds more, but social media is very limited because of the resources. You have to have data, you have to have a smartphone or a smart TV to be able to access information that is free on social media, but only a limited number of the population has that. And now these limited people who have access like me and you to social media and we can talk and write, we do not spread that information to the grassroots. The voters who are in the townships, in the rural areas, they are not aware of some of these things, and that's how politicians played our people. Majority of voters for the ruling party, for example, they come from the two impoverished provinces of the Republic, the Limpopo in the north and the Eastern Cape in the south. They are the most poorest provinces in the country, yet they are the two provinces that vote more than any other province in the country. And it's because they don't have access to information. It's because where they are sitting, they cannot question politicians. Come election time, politicians will deliver to those people what those people need most at that time, like water. You are sitting and you are taking water from a river with a bucket, which is still happening today. And election time, they will come and put one tap on the street.
Did we miss an opportunity for radical economic transformation if that had even been something that was plausible?
We absolutely missed the opportunity. And I think during the Zuma administration, when it was brought in, when it got the hype of the RET, it was too late. And it did not get the support within the ruling party itself that it required for it to flow. And that's one of the tools that they could have used to radically transform the economy of the country, to make black people not workers. I always say to my kids, I do not want you to go to university and study and be an employee, because we were trained. Everybody who's at university wants to work. Everybody wants to be an employee. We are not trained to be industrialists, to be entrepreneurs. We are not trained. Even those who want to, they don't have access to capital. The system itself, a car will give me a loan to buy a vehicle for 1 million rands, but they will never give me a loan to start up a business of 500,000 rands. They will not do that. Even if I've got a business plan, even if I've got qualities and samples of what I have done, they will not even do that. So the system is designed in such a way that black people, even if you can have 100% black government, you will never own the economy of this country due to the system, due to the policies. We were talking earlier on about we're still being governed by laws that dates back to the 1940s, 1950s, and 1960s. The same laws that were draconian apartheid laws. We're still using them. How did it take us over 20 years to change the laws of the country when we've got so many, legal experts? We had, for example, Justice Phakama was the deputy president of the PAC at some stage, one of the greatest legal scholars of the country. And I always say, what impact did he do to transform the country? And when you say that, they will say, no, you are insulting adults and all those things, but that's another problem. When we raise issues against what our elders have done wrong, then they bring issues of we're not respecting our elders. We should sit and be in a position to tell our political elders they are wrong. They
Yeah.
sold out, they failed the country.
But also to be solution driven. So for now though, let's just hold that thought, and we'll take a comfy break, and we'll continue looking at the issues around transforming the unequal society, that which is South Africa.
You have in the South African Army and South African Police Services 100 people. Our police force and our soldiers are some of the worst paid people on earth. And they are armed. Now, you give a person a firearm to be able to protect the society, and you starve that person, or you are not taking care of that person. However, police are selling dockets, are losing dockets, and all those things. The white people own everything in this country. They even own the air we breathe. That's why they build offices that have no windows so that we don't breathe natural air, and they put air conditioners that supply oxygen to us. So we even buy the oxygen. When you go to the bathroom and you flush, you pay for that water to flush the poo at the end of the month. So you are actually even paying later to do things that are natural and God-given. We're made to pay, and white people are receiving to the end.
This is Phakama Africa Media, and we're in conversation with independent political analyst Sebutsa Mwilwa, also the author of A Life with a Question Mark. Just to pick up on the thought around solutions to where the black aspirations are, where we're supposed to be on a pinnacle now, enjoying the fruits of democracy. How would you rate the country?
Well, I wouldn't even rate it as if we were enjoying any fruits of liberation. For me, it's in the only thing that has happened is that we can share toilets, public spaces, and parks with white people. That's the only thing that has happened. I've seen few black faces in government. We've seen the economy is doing very bad. The employment rate, everything is on a decline. We need an absolute or a radical transformation of this whole process. And it has to start with changing the mindset of our politicians. If those people sitting in parliament can wake up and focus on laws that will transform and change people's lives, and they are not doing that. We first have to change the laws that govern this country. And simple things like, for example, Cindy, you look at government. Government is an economic stimulator. Government must spend money on the economy for the economy to go, for people to get employment. Now, 93% of government contracts and services are white-owned companies. 93% of them. Now, how do we intend to make black people to be industrialists and economically viable when our own government is doing business with white companies? And I'll use a few examples. I've said, for example, why doesn't the government go and wash their vehicles at a car wash in a township? Have a contract with boys who are unemployed in the township and young girls to say the government will come, one department, and wash their vehicles from those people. That's creating employment, that's taking kids out of the street. No. We still service government vehicles at white-owned companies.
But isn't that also the problem that what Ukoko or Mashika was talking about, a policy askaris or gatekeepers, because they've got vested interest in those companies?
Absolutely. We are sitting with political office bearers who are shareholders, almost all of them, or their family members who are shareholders in companies that are doing business with government. And they're even having crumbs. You see black people owning 5%, 10% of a company that is making billions out of government. It's crumbs. Most of the capital is sitting in the white hands, or it's going out of the country. And that is actually where the problem is. That's why the people sitting in political decision-making positions, they will not make those decisions because it will impact on their stomachs and their purses. If we can come to a point in this country whereby people who are political office bearers or even public administrators are not supposed to be having business with government or being shareholders, and somebody will say, but that's undemocratic. That's where democracy becomes wrong. When democracy becomes unjust, we cannot fold our arms and praise it, because now I work for government, but I have my sister doing business with government. I am going to make sure that my sister will get that contract in government. And it's unjust. But somebody will stand up and say, no, but everybody is allowed to have business. If you want to go on business, go on business. If you want to be an administrator, be an administrator. Or if you want to be a politician, be a politician. And that's where we'll solve the problem.
No, but I tend to disagree because governments, the levers thereof were also used during the apartheid regime to establish enterprises, your Sanlams in all various sectors.
Yes, but you see how they did it. It is because they identified talent. Apartheid government was good in identifying talent. They went and they groomed people like the Atterbury brothers, Gord Brook. They identified them from universities. They pumped money into them. They created these sectors like the Sambos and APSA today and all that and pumped money into it. But that is not few individuals who are enriching themselves. You know, they created all these sectors in order to take care of the society, in order to take care of the elderly, the children, youth, and all that. It was not for few individuals. We are doing the opposite. We've got few rich black people who are not plowing back into the community, who are not giving back. People are talking of soccer tournaments and donations here and there. That's nothing. That's not plowing back. They are not creating entrepreneurs who will rise and compete with them after. The government tried. They had the sitters. They had the, programs to train people, but they were training people to be employees, and it was not sustainable. The sitters, it was a good idea, but it was not sustainable. So we cannot continue to also be an importing country if we want to create jobs, for example.
Yeah, but you said that horse has bolted already, and that the neoliberalism position that was taken even on the advent of democracy is perpetuating that white privilege and dominance.
It is. The white privileges, I actually was saying to friends, white people are more comfortable and safer in South Africa than the apartheid years. And I will tell you why. White people, when they used to sit in bars, they will be uneasy, thinking that Umkhonto or Apla will come and shoot them and bomb them. Today, they are actually saying to us, if they knew that this is all we wanted, to be driving flashy cars and being in parliament position, they would have long given us this freedom. They didn't know. They thought we want to capture and take and control the economy. But we are not. So they are more comfortable today. It is actually a privilege to be a South African white person today than it was during the apartheid year. They are more comfortable. They've got more rights than they had during the apartheid year. They are even protected by black people who are in power. We are sitting in courts today, in the courts, spending money, resources, and everything, including time, discussing a white apartheid flag. And why are we spending resources on that? If we're a serious country, if we mean business, why are we having a judge being paid to sit in court and go and decide whether people can fly the apartheid flag? We're wasting resources.
Is that also partly because of the multi-culturalism and diversity, where you find that our rights are essentially equal, be it the minority or the majority?
Well, I don't think it has to do with, the majority must have better rights than the minority. I don't think. We are human beings.
No, the point I'm making is that it seems the minority is holding the rest at ransom.
Yeah, absolutely. But the minority is holding the rest at ransom because of the judicial system we have as a country. Because of the economic system. They've got the economic power. We all know that in South Africa, to be able to see or get justice, you will have to have the resources, which is money. You should be able to afford a good lawyer that will go and convince a presiding judge, of which majority of them are governed and guided by old apartheid-era laws. We still sit and see our people addressing judges in court as my lord, your worship, your honor, and all those things. We must start with those small things. Anything that smells white colonial apartheid, we must remove it from our system. We don't even have to go and request or go to courts and apply to change street names. Wasting money. You apply to court to change a street name.
But part of the stem that is now a national anthem, which is a symbol of unity, is smells of that apartheid or colonialism you talk about.
Like I said, if something is evil, you must uproot it. You don't leave the roots of an evil thing. That's the error we did. We did not uproot the evil of apartheid completely and remove it from us. We sugar-coated apartheid and we continued with it. This compromised national flag, national anthem, and having 11 official languages and all those things, actually it's a compromise position, and it has come up to catch up with us. It's catching up with us, and if it was done for transitional purpose, but now it's enacted into the constitution of the country. Another thing that I've noticed about politicians and judiciary and lawmakers, people think the constitution is a static document. Everything they will say, even if the constitution is doing something wrong, people will say, but it's the constitution of the country. Change the constitution. And that's not what we're doing. We think the constitution is the alpha and the omega of our lives, and therefore whatever is in the constitution written by white people, we should remember that the South African
Phakama, in
law-
fact, was saying about Section 25 of the Constitution that you cannot touch it because, you know, the other implications, or it's so complex
The Bill
that
of
there's
Rights
certain...
won't allow you. For
Correct.
example, I was listening to politicians, especially the ANC and EFF, talking about repealing Section 25 of the Constitution, and I said it will not happen. Even if they go, white people will go to court because you will be impacting on the Bill of Rights, and they will draw in the Bill of Rights. Now, you are trying to take two sections of a same constitution to fight with each other, and it's not going to happen. I don't think changing Section 25 of the Constitution will give land to black people. What land again, Cindy? What land are we talking about? We are sitting here, we saw the statistics this week, that white people still own over 70% of economic land in South Africa. Over 70%. 10% of the population owns over 70% of the land. It has been like that before 1994. The government owns only 14% of the land. The entire land of the country. The government owns only 14%. Between 1994 and 2018, the government had only transferred 6% of land to black people since the ANC came into power in 1994. So that whole process, for me, is a farce. It is not working. It is not going to deliver land and freedom to black people. And I'm talking about true freedom. I'm not talking about freedom that we carry the same green ID card or the new smart card. That's not freedom for us. Sitting and sharing bars and shebeens with white people, that is not freedom. If you are free, it's when you are entitled to do things in a natural, God-given, justified way. And we are not, because we still have to seek permission from the former oppressors in order to do some of the things that we have to do. They are sitting in on Orania, created a country within a country. You know, they've got their own currency, national, and we allow it. And black people come and form the Black First, Land First movement, and they say they don't want white people amongst them, and then they get banned for that. You know, in this modern day age, actually, you find a government banning a black formation political. However, we've got the Black Business Forum. We've got the Black Nurses Forum. We've got so many black, and they're not banned. And it's okay on one sector of the society that other things are tolerated and allowed, like Orania.
Is that because there's so much tolerance, if you will, from black people, if you like, or acceptance, the preconditioning, you know, that this is how things had always been, and you accept that whatever is white is still right?
I think it's more acceptance than tolerance. I think our people have become submissive and have accepted the situation as it is, and they relied. We relied, you know, and it's a problem in Africa. We rely on leadership. We rely on leaders. While culturally and historically, a king or a leader of a society actually gets the instruction from the society. Now the things are happening in the opposite way. The society relies on the leader to give instructions to them, to tell them what to do and what not to do, instead of political leaders listening to our voices, listening to the people, what do they want. And you know, they conducted an interview among youth at universities, and 96% of university students, they want to be employees. You're shocked. They want to earn a salary. They want to work. They want to be slaves, modern day slaves. You know, people want to earn a salary. Wait, I was saying to other colleagues earlier, the credit system as well. You know, when they took our customs and culture away from us, they gave us religions. And we live. You don't see white people filling up churches and giving churches money.
We'll come back and talk about the African spirituality, because what you are saying is not like there hasn't been a faith or a belief system that African had. It's just something that we had adopted. But hold that thought, and thanks for staying with us on Phakama Africa Media. You're welcome to join us on social media with your comments.